Yeah. What's going on, everybody? It's your man, DJ K, man. We're back again for another episode of Inside the Mind of, um, where we have the conversations as men that men usually don't have. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about mental health and all the rest of the healths. We're live on the YouTube and the Facebook and Twitch. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're on the YouTube. If you're not, if you're on the Facebook or the Twitch, make sure you follow, make sure you like. Feel free to head on over to the YouTube channel, KVR Entertainment TV. Hit that subscribe and the bell for me. That would be super helpful. Today's guest is a martial arts legend. Some would call him an iconoclast, but he's my sensei. He teaches me how to beat your ass, and he's fluent in many of the martial arts. But most importantly, he's very living a holistic lifestyle. So I wanted to make sure I had him on so we could talk to him about all the things martial arts and men's health. Welcome to the program, Carlos De La Cruz.
Thank you for having me. It's worth it just for the intro. Are you kidding me?
You're on the left side of your screen there, Granddad. You want to slide over to your left. Yeah, there we go. So what happens when you get two dudes in their 40s on the interwebs, right? Trying to figure it out.
Figure it out eventually.
We figured it out eventually. Generally, we start at 7:30, but it's a 7:30-ish, which gives us like an hour window,
No, I appreciate you fitting me in with the around my private lessons and everything.
Of course. That's what we do here at Inside the Mind of. Carlos, as always, before we get started, when we get started, man, we like to learn about who you are and what your journey's been like. So tell the folks what it is you do, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. I was born in New York. I moved to Jersey for a while. When I was about 8 or 9, I moved to Rhode Island, and that's where I started training in the martial arts when I was about 10 years old. So when I was about, I think maybe around 11 or 12, my instructor, it's actually something that I mentioned to him 30 years later. It was one of the things that you do with little kids. You ask them what rank they eventually want to make in the martial arts. It's a retention exercise that their instructors are taught. And I had no idea at the time, so I asked him what the highest rank was. And he told me 10th degree black belt, and I told him, well, that's what I want to be. So I guess at the age of like 11 or 12, I figured out I wanted to be a martial arts instructor. And that's just something I've been doing primarily for, going on 37 years now. Going to college and all the other things that I've done have kind of been working around martial arts. Martial arts has always been my priority.
Nice. So as a martial artist, there's a lot of what we do here is we're talking about primarily like the mental health toolbox. So as a martial artist, I know it's tough to not just walk around, punch a guy in the head because he's acting like an asshole. And you've got multiple black belts, right? Karate,
jiu-jitsu, taekwondo.
Walk me through like a confrontational situation and how you handle that from a mental standpoint to not just hurt people. Like you're like a walking weapon, my guy.
But you know what? I just finished watching a video of two kids just going back and forth and pushing each other. One of the kids fell over a bench and broke their neck and died. It doesn't really take training to hurt somebody. That's number one. If you put any martial artist, one of the Gracies, inside of a cage with a 800-pound gorilla, the gorilla's gonna win regardless because it's just strength, right? So what differentiates a martial artist is the philosophy and that understanding of repercussions. So in every scenario that I've ever put myself in, I realize that if the person's drunk or even if they're just having a bad day, I could be that person. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on in terms of the backstory for this person acting up. And I do take it upon myself to, make sure that things are resolved in a way that I would like to have resolved if I was in a similar situation. If I had that bad day, if I had too many drinks, how would I want someone to basically take care of me? And that's what we did, and you saw we worked together for a while. we literally babysit. You know, we keep people from hurting themselves for the majority of the time.
Nice. Um, I wanna pivot a little bit because I know like if you're comfortable talking about it, you had a brain tumor. Um, and you had it removed and everything is cool now, but I know like a lot of your lifestyle had to change. So um, that's a huge bit of adversity that you had to go through. How did that kind of like take a toll on your soul and your mental health and your physical health? And what was like how did you cope with that? Like what did you bring? What did you use mentally or physically to kind of like move through the process of getting back to being able to teach again after having such a major surgery?
You know, you're my mom's favorite friend of all my friends. You're number one because you were the one that took me to the hospital.
Right.
We went in and it was a CAT scan, and from a CAT scan to an MRI, and to an MRI, it was a month in the hospital, and it was pretty surprising. I mean, I was starting to have a lot of issues towards the end. The tumor was on the right side, so when it's on the right side, it affects the left side. So I was having like basically like a stroke like symptoms, and I just a lot of muscle fatigue, a lot of weakness and stuff like that. So I went from I mean I had issues in terms of just being a hyper kid, and wanting a martial arts, and a little bit of anger because growing up without a dad and stuff like that, you always have your issues looking for father figures, and we can get into that at different points, but you kind of really do use the martial arts to kind of ground you, right? And then to have it all taken away and feeling like you have to start all over again was very, very, very difficult. And mainly the main issue that I had, I mean, it wasn't a when my doctor told me that I had a tumor the size the size of a grapefruit in my head. It really didn't matter much to me. I mean, martial artists, we're trained not to really care about living and dying, so it wasn't really a big thing. It was the afterwards. It was the having to get back up. When I woke up out of surgery, I couldn't move. So I basically started like working the process the minute my eyes opened after a 10-hour surgery. So it's just part of like walking and talking for me. I know that, and it's weird to have people call you a miracle and stuff like that because it's not my thing. But more of an example is what I like to be. You're down and you have a difficult time. You have to go through some really serious moment where you have to recover in whatever way you have to do it, and it's definitely possible. Just have to dedicate yourself to it. Um, the biggest issue that I'm having now is more in my head. So with the tumor removed, I have a space in my brain, so my pineal gland is exposed. So at right now, what I'm having is mood swings. So I have to be around people that are very good about their own individual mental health. And if I'm not, it's kind of contagious, and then it's a multiplier. So I have to find myself in really, really chill environments. And I mean, I'm a chill person in general. I'm not really looking for trouble or anything. If it wasn't for work, we'd never work, and I'd never be at a club or anything like that. It wasn't my particular environment. I'm not gonna get into a fight because somebody stepped on my shoes or whatever. You know what I mean? Or somebody bumped me or spilled my drink. It's just not where I'm at. But coming back to kind of the training and feeling confident in what I do. I mean, I felt good about what I did. I felt good about teaching, and it's something that I definitely wanted to get back to. So the road back has been challenging in terms of finding people that are committed on the level that I want to be committed, because I want to definitely keep adding more and more into what I'm doing in terms of the martial arts. I want to definitely give back more and more, and not everybody's up for it. People's word doesn't go as far as it used to back in the day, if you know what I mean.
I do. Um, talk a little bit to like the therapeutic process coming back. Um, like did you have to go to therapy? Do you currently talk to a therapist? And
Physical therapy and occupational therapy. So
okay,
PT is basically, walking, that type of basic movement. Occupational therapy is like cooking and cleaning and bathing yourself, that type of stuff. But the mental health aspect of it, the therapist, the psychiatrist, that's something that was unbelievably helpful, especially in the beginning, because my therapist walked me through being, like working on my disability case. She was
Oh
the one
wow.
that like,
Okay.
oh yeah, no, she was like, no, this is not, you're not, these are things that you're not able to do anymore. You need to chill. So even the teaching that I do is very limited in terms of always being, I always have an assistant. I can't really teach a kids class by myself. So I wouldn't want to, in fact, the first couple of seizures happen in a kids class. So I wouldn't want to freak the kids out and things like that. So you prep people so it's not too much for them, but also I have to have like layers and layers and layers of like, okay, if this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Actually, I didn't do that during a couple of my private lessons, and Tony Trap, Sensei Trap, mentioned, he's like, what do I do if you have a seizure? I'm like, man, I didn't think about mentioning it to you. I didn't think about, about what happens. You know what I mean? Or what I should tell somebody to do. You know what I mean? So it's kind of difficult. So the teaching, getting back to work it's a bit of a challenge, but we figure it out. We make it happen.
Yeah, we sure do, man. And um, so with the martial arts and then coming back from such a crazy situation, what was like the dark. Was there a dark moment where you were like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to like walk and talk and do these things, and like how was that? How was that road back? Like, what did you kind of use as? Did you have like a motivator? Was it just to get back and teach? Uh, was there a point where you were like, man, fuck it, I'm gonna just jump off this building?
I'm not I'm not particularly about self harm when I get into my low places, but it is about lashing out and my in the hospital. I had a point where I had to call a friend to kind of talk me down from hurting somebody else. For some reason, I felt very vulnerable. I couldn't move. I felt restricted. I couldn't defend myself because I'm always thinking about scenarios. And my nurse was a tall male, and he was always over me. He was doing his job,
Right.
but I'm trying to get this guy to lean in closer so I can kill him if I have to kill him. Like, that's not something that goes through the average person's brain. I'm literally trying to like talk and trying to get him. I'm like can I get him to lean in close enough for me to be able to grab him? I'm like, I called Fernando. Do you know Fernando?
Yeah,
My
of
health
course.
partner. I called Fernando crying. I'm like, I'm gonna kill this guy, and he's like, don't do it. What, dude? Like, no. It was he definitely talked me off a cliff. I mean, I don't deal well with schedule changes. I don't deal with people that kind of like are wishy-washy about certain things. I'd rather just not deal with them. You know what I mean? So I've isolated myself to a certain extent, and it makes life a lot easier in terms of that, because I'd rather have a little bit of solitude. And going into what we were saying and what we were talking about, I find a lot of solace in reading. I really do like reading biographies. I'm into Buddhism. I converted to Buddhism, so I'm really not trying to be about what the average person's about. I'm just trying to really look inside for the answers and that type of inner peace. I hate to be cliche about it, but inner peace is definitely what I'm trying to find, a little serenity.
Word. Now, I mean, obviously you had to change your entire lifestyle. I mean, I know you, so I'm not gonna put all your dirt out there, but you know, we was outside.
Yes, we were. Yes, we
We were
were.
outside.
Yes, we
So
were.
how hard was it to kind of like make some of these like drastic health changes? Like, you're vegan now. I mean,
Yeah.
the working out is kind of like a natural thing, right? Because you're doing the martial arts. So like, I'm sure it was like difficult to get back on track, but like your lifestyle basically changed completely. Like, how was that? Like, how was it dealing with that, knowing that like, oh, I can't eat, this thing anymore, or I can't drink my doers as much as maybe I used to, or you know, uh, I can't drive. I you know what I mean? Like, even learning to walk. Like, I'm like, man, I broke my ankle and I sat still for like 12 weeks. There were times where I was like, man, fuck this, just chop my leg off, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I it wasn't good. It wasn't good while I was
Well,
injured.
when you're in the hospital, they give you shots in your stomach to keep your blood from clotting or blood clots from forming because you're laying on your back so long. So I definitely understand, man. But
Like, what was that change in lifestyle like mentally or and physically? Like, what did you struggle, or was it just kind of like, did you just channel like your martial arts stoicism? Um,
you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. There's certain things that you can control, and there's other things that you can't control. So you just gotta let it go. Control what you can, and even that those things that you try to control, it's just the foresight and planning ahead, and and all those plans tend to be just it never ends up looking exactly like that. You know what I mean? They don't. You got to always leave a little bit of room for serendipity. You know, that's kind of what I've found. You know, I appreciate being able to drive. I appreciate being able to do some of the stuff I did in the martial arts that I just can't do. You know, I don't really bounce, no jumping jacks. I don't, and people would say, oh, you don't got to do jumping jacks anymore. It's like, it's kind of part of it. You know what I mean?
right.
But you figure it out. One of the things I've noticed is, especially with my older students, they end up hurting themselves because they do stuff their body's just not shouldn't be doing anymore. You know what I mean? If you're in your 70s, you shouldn't be taking ukemi and getting slammed down like that. You know, you got to leave that to the young guys and be the person throwing. So eventually, you kind of age out of certain things. You know, I mean, my dad drank until the day he died, 81 years old, and it's just not something that I saw myself doing. I did see myself doing, but I don't see myself doing anymore. You know what I mean? So that stage kind of passed. I haven't had a drink since the first, so it's been 6 or 7 months. But I didn't do it for alcoholism reasons. I just wanted to stop drinking. You know, focus a little more on my health. Especially the booze that I was drinking, just all sugar and molasses and stuff like that. That's not gonna be good for you. And I'm very big about like wine and spirits and energy that alcohol brings into your life and kind of makes you a little sluggish with certain things. So no judgment on. I mean, I worked in clubs long enough, 15 years plus. I understand. Hey, we were talking about it the other day. I like the taste of booze. It just at this point, it's not something that I want to do anymore.
What I heard was it to go vegan. I've tried a few times.
Well, it was a progression for me. And the minute I got out of the minute I was in the hospital, I was a pescatarian. So from a pescatarian to a vegetarian, and then from a vegetarian to a vegan, right? So my philosophy on that is the same philosophy I had on quitting smoking, right? Because I used to smoke cigarettes back in the day as well. So you want to make the decision that you're not a smoker. So you're not a smoker. When you do smoke or cheat or fall or whatever you want to call it, you're smoking, but you're not a smoker. So you always revert back to who you are. You're acting out of your character, but then you return back to your character, which is a vegan or a non-smoker or whatever it is that you're doing. So I'm Buddhism kind of taught me, like, don't beat yourself up. The Catholic guilt and all the stuff that they say, it doesn't really work that way. You don't have to forgive it's just you reset and do it again. It's no big deal, man. That all the judgment, we're just stardust just floating around in a galaxy amongst galaxies. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world when you go back and have a little cheese. Although I've been good. I had some baklava today. Some guy offered me. I don't know.
What? You had
Yeah,
baklava? It's
yeah.
amazing.
There's a little spot right next door, and there's nobody in there. And I walk by, and I'm like, I wonder if they have a falafel. He's like, no falafel, baklava. I'm like, does that have milk and egg? He's like, baklava. I'm like, I'm not. I was like, oh, and I was gonna like and dump it, just not knowing, and he was just like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to. It was good, but I'm gonna have to look up Google if it has baklava and have to do a reset after 6 years. No, baklava got me.
Hey man, listen, I like eggs. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I could give up and I'm a sandwich dude. Like, I like a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You can do
Or like
ovo lacto.
or like a
Ovo
grilled
lacto is
cheese,
huh?
like a grilled cheese sandwich. Like I'm not really with the fake cheese. I feel like if I'm gonna do it, I got to do it.
You can be
You
ovo
know
lacto. Ovo lacto is egg and cheese.
what is that? Is that like vegan adjacent?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's more like vegetarian ovo lacto. So basically animal products. There are
I
a
just
lot of
learned a new term.
vegetarians. There are a lot of vegetarians that do animal products.
How's that?
That's the difference.
I thought vegetarians didn't do any animal. I thought they
No, they
just ate
don't. They don't,
vegetables.
no meat. But
Yeah,
vegetarians will have like
animal
egg and cheese and stuff like that. But when you cut out the
byproduct.
cheese,
Okay, I
that's
get it.
being a vegan.
So what was the hardest thing for you to give up going vegan?
Wendy's.
The 4 for 4, baby.
The 4 for 4 broke people food. Are you kidding me? That's how they get you, man. It's just so cheap. 4 for 4. What's in the meat? Are you kidding me?
I want to move. I want to shift gears. Um, Little known fact: you have one of the greatest baseball collections of memorabilia I've ever seen in my entire life. Um, all the baseballs and the things like that. Like what? How did you start collecting, and like how does that kind of like is it something that you do like reading, or you know what I mean? Like, do you use it as a mechanism to kind of like cope with life and the stressors? Like, is it like a stress reliever, kind of like getting the shoe shine? Like,
Yeah, no, definitely. The baseball stuff started when I was before martial arts. I think when I just came to Rhode Island, maybe like 8 or something like that. And I heard that Yogi Berra was signing at a local hotel for like $15. Man.
$15.
Yeah, well, it was like 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the prices hadn't come up, man. I got my butt over there and I got my autographed Yogi Berra baseball, which was stolen but I have my 16 by 20 that I still have. And I shook Yogi Berra's hand, man. That was the coolest. He called me kid. I was like, I can
Nice,
die now. It was
right?
great. So I started doing that, and the company that brought Yogi in would just start bringing in different Hall of Famers, and I would just go up to CCRI, the local college, and just everybody that would. I mean, I did that for like 3 or 4 years, and it was great. I met a lot of cool Hall of Famers, man, and they were all very cool, all very cool. I actually missed Mickey Mantle's show 2 months before he passed away. I was like, no, the Mick. I really wanted to meet Mickey Mantle. That would have been really cool. But the baseball stuff for me, it's kind of weird because baseball to me is kind of like a family thing. You pass it down from father to son or from father to daughter, from like whatever scenario it works out. But it's something that's handed down traditionally, like the team that you like and the rivalries. And even if like your kid ends up liking another team, I think that's really cool. And like it's the sport really reflects the country. Segregation, pre-segregation, the steroid era. Like to me, the steroid era is like that 80s greed is good, where everybody was just hitting home runs and trying to make that money. You know what I mean? So it reflects the country to a great extent. The diversity and how it's so mixed now, it's awesome. I mean, if I could do the Dominican thing in the background, so everybody understands, there are more Dominican baseball players. There are more Dominican baseball players than any other state in the country. So I have my Juan Marichal rookie card, the first Dominican Hall of Famer. I've met him a couple times. He was actually a neighbor of mine.
Oh wow.
The baseball he signed. America is one of the few countries. I'm not sure if it's like this everywhere, where they do month, day, year. In Dominican Republic, it's day, month, year. So my uncle worked at a country club where Juan Marichal was a member, and he signed it to me to Carlos Juan Marichal, and it's day, month, year. It's worth a little. It's worth a little more because it had the Spanish, the non, but it's worth a little less because it's to me. So whatever. It's all good. But I love like my Hank Aaron pieces. I love, you know, my Willie Mays pieces. They're just are so cool. Like I think those are like some of the greatest players of all time and stuff like that. Those guys would be making millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, I think Hank Aaron's a $50 million a year player. You know, 40
Right.
home runs, you know, almost 200 RBIs every year. I think so.
Oh man, he clean up now.
Oof. Willie Mays.
Willie May, yeah, those guys would they would definitely clean up. I'm bouncing around a little bit because as things are coming in my brain, you know, I'm not the most prepared interviewer, but I'm good.
We get it all in. Don't worry.
We get it all in. Talk about your martial arts philosophy.
You gotta, in terms of like your mindset, you have to understand that that person, if you're fighting the person, or you're in a situation where you have to defend yourself, or even if you're training, the person in front of you is the most dangerous person you've ever encountered. That's the best way for you to have all of your energy, all of your alertness come up and be prepared to deal with this, right? So, in terms of being alert, that's where you have to be. That's where your mind has to be. But on the outside, you have to be very still, right? So, how do you do that? Number one, you have to train hard. So when this guy comes at you for real, for real, for real, he's just coming at you. You don't have to add all the for real, for real, for reals. It's just what it is. It's how we train, you know. And the other thing, you have to have a little bit of mindfulness and relax. That comes from meditation. That is the mental aspect of the martial arts. So, in terms of meeting your opponent, you have to be ready, super alert, but at the same time on the outside, be very still and very relaxed. Hold on 1 second. Alexa, shut off alarm. So Sun Tzu has a great saying that when you're weak, show strength, and when you're strong, show weakness. That's pretty much it, right? And you always want to, man, calm down. I don't want any trouble. Relax, and just try to really, really take care of your opponent, because if you just have a sense of just destroying this person, you kill that person, you're going to be responsible on that end as well. So you have to really work both ends of it. You know, you want to obviously be safe, but at the same time, hurting someone to a point where they're dead or permanently injured, it's just not going to be good for you either. You know what I mean? So that's the approach. You know, it's always like your opponent is always a reflection of yourself. It's a mirror. It's a shadow. Bruce Lee always talked about that, it being a shadow, but he always talked about it being a shadow in terms of like movement. He moves, you move together. I'm talking about more of as a reflection as a human being. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's the same, but it's a little different. You really, man, I bounced a long time. I really never sent, maybe one person to the hospital. And it was just, it was Big Geach. It wasn't even me. And I can snitch because Big Geach isn't around anymore. The statute of limitations has passed. Everybody that I've thrown out, completely fine, no problem. Hey, buddy, come back next week. Hey, FY, blah, blah, blah. Take it easy. And they come back next week and it's never a problem because I don't embarrass people. That's the other thing. You embarrass someone, they will come back. And they're going to come back angry. If you don't embarrass someone, they will come back and apologize. That I've had happen. I've had people come back and say, man, listen, bro, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, hey, come on. I've already forgotten about it. Because hey, come back next week, have a drink. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. When you're doing it in personal self-defense, you're basically teaching the person. If you try to be aggressive towards me, I will cause you harm. That's it.
Super simple.
You grab me. When that arm comes back, it's going to be mangly a little bit. If you want to use the other one, you're going to have a pair. Simple as that. I mean, it's not really anything more complicated than that. You know what I mean? When you keep life simple, it just makes scenarios simple, you know? That's the philosophy. Keep it simple.
Word. Keep it simple, everybody. Keep it simple. Because if you don't, you end up with matching mangled arms. And then how do you feed yourself? Well, more importantly, how do you wipe?
Man. Maybe you're a sticky situation from what I understand.
Right. So now we're going to get into the fun part of the process, I have a series of questions I'm going to ask. It's time for bed. What?
It's just my Amazon. It's letting my
Alexa
echo.
said it's time for bed, Carlos.
It did. It was like I gotta set reminders, D. Actually, you know what that reminder is? To take my seizure medication.
Oh, I thought it said time for bed.
Oh, it did.
Huh.
You know what one of these is?
No, I'm not that old yet.
Get ready, buddy.
Yeah, the pill box.
I could play the not the maracas. Is it maracas? Yeah, I could play the maracas with that thing.
So of all your martial arts disciplines, the taekwondo, the karate, the jiu-jitsu, the BJJ, what's the one you enjoy the most? Which one gives you the most pleasure? And which one would you say is the most effective realistically?
That's a good question, because all the styles that I did covered different distances, but the jujitsu that I did, the stand-up jujitsu that I now call Shinkasuru, the style that I teach and I put together, is the one that allows me the most freedom. Because in this style of jujitsu, I can kick, I can punch, I can lock, and then I can do all of them. And then I can change from zone to zone, from zone to zone. So I can go to the ground, but I don't really want to go to the ground because it's not really my personal philosophy. But if that was somebody else's philosophy, I'm going to take them down and then this allows for you. This closes the gap, gets in and takes you down. And the style that I think is most effective, if you're starting, I think Kempo, which is another style that I have a black belt in, that's my second highest rank. It started me off with that right mentality of know how to fight standing up. And by the way, you don't know what you're doing on the ground. Like I don't know if you remember, but UFC 1, the guy that came in second was a Kempo guy from Massachusetts. So I was like, Kempo, yeah, let's go. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, to the ground. Oh. And that guy now, I forgot what his name is, but he's now he does ground jiu-jitsu. So Kempo was like, oh, what? Huh? Remember, I don't know if you remember Jeff Speakman.
I've heard of him.
He did the movie The Perfect
The
Weapon.
movies, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Substitute. Was he the substitute?
He wasn't in the substitute. He was in The Perfect Weapon.
Oh, okay. Yep. I remember that one.
He was an Ed Parker guy. He's a Kempo guy. And at a particular, he teaches Kempo 5.0, and he added Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So the Kempo, and I hate to say the Kempo, but Kempo just allowed you to do whatever you wanted to do. And that philosophy I added to the Jiu-Jitsu or the Shinkasuru that I do now. The Shinkasuru just has more locks and emphasizes more on locks. That's why I didn't decide to use it as a Kempo karate system.
Word. Top 5 martial artists of all time.
Ooh. Top 5 martial artists of all time. Martial artists or martial arts actors or
martial artists. However you. I mean, most martial arts actors are martial artists.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Man, I'm gonna have to put some caveats in there. In my, what do you say, top 5?
Top 5.
Top 5. A young in Japan Steven Seagal.
Not the old fat version.
No, not the llama, not the reincarnated llama. Love that guy too, but no. He's a Buddhist. I want to claim him as a brother, but young Steven Seagal for sure.
Young Steven Seagal, dangerous.
Professor V from New York, absolute legend. His student Moses Powell, legend as well. Steve Muhammad. Ooh.
Oh, he's on Farrakhan's detail, right?
No. That was Moses Powell. That was Professor Powell.
Okay, Moses Powell, yeah.
Sijo Muhammad created the Black Karate Federation.
Oh,
in
right. Okay.
the 60s. Guys were getting, African Americans were being taken advantage of in tournaments. Hey, you pay to participate in the tournament, but win or not, you're gonna lose. So that wasn't cool, and a couple of instructors got together and put that together. Judo Gene LaBelle, the father of MMA, love him. What a legend. How many I got? One more.
One more.
Itman.
Donnie Yen or Itman?
No, Itman. The one the movie's based on. So much of the first Ip Man movie is like right out of his book. Like the cop with the revolver and like, hey, but can you stop a bullet? And I actually know the technique. I don't know the technique, but it's called the crane's beak. And he uses the crane's beak to knock the cylinder out and basically just smashes the officer's revolver. And he like, oh, geez, was that the dangerous thing? And helps him pick it up and like hands it back to him in pieces. Like that happened. That happened.
Very cool.
Ip Man for sure. That would be the fifth. Notice with all due love and respect, I couldn't put Bruce Lee in my top 5.
I noticed no Bruce Lee, no Chuck Norris. Michael Jai White is one of my favorites, but I don't know if I'd put
all of them.
No Jet Li. No Jackie Chan. No Jackie Chan. He's old school martial arts. Jackie Chan.
I know, but these guys were like when I talk about martial artists, I'm talking about if there's a fight.
Right.
I don't have to look back. I have a brick wall behind me. I don't got to look back. You're okay. Professor V, Moses Powell, Sijo Muhammad. Like, I don't know if I may have sent it to you, but Sijo Muhammad talked about doing security at clubs and getting into some really crazy fights, man. Like a bull ring and guys being thrown in, guys getting knocked out and stuff like that. Like that was the real stuff, man. You know what I mean? Like no movies. No movie stuff. Like,
could the prime Carlos beat Chuck Norris?
What's the scenario? Is Chuck Norris breaking into my living room? Because then I would whoop.
No, like karate points.
Too good. He was the first guy. Chuck Norris was the first person to combine hands and feet on a really high level, and the claim to fame is that he went 5 years undefeated. People beat him, but it was a hell of a run for 5 years, where very, very, very few people beat Chuck Norris. He got beat in Korea. Some guys a couple of dudes in New York beat him. So, but like I said, it just, he's got the complexion for the protection, right? No offense, Chuck, but you got beat. There are a lot of guys that are like, keep the trophy, but whatever, Chuck. So, and again, love Chuck Norris. I met him a couple times. Super nice man.
What book would you recommend? What's a book recommendation?
Oh, I've been reading a bunch on Buddhism. So anything, the Tao Te Ching is great for philosophy. Anything that has like samurai quotes, which is like the Hagakure, the Book of Five Rings. And I don't want to be, the same books that everybody recommends, but there's a book called Be Here Now, which is great. Ramadas was a part of the original group that did LSD with Timothy Leary back in California.
All right.
And Ramadas went to India and came back with some great information, some great insight. He died of ALS a couple years back, but definitely Be Here Now and things like that. Anything that makes you think. I don't really like stories that aren't like fiction. I like nonfiction. I like reading about people's lives and what they went through and how I can apply that to my own personal life. What's the deal? Eleanor Roosevelt, I think, said a life worth remembering first has to be a life worth living.
Word. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
No. He broke the rules, man. The rules. You know what? After 100 years, I think they should let him in. They should actually let Shoeless Joe Jackson and the other guy that's Hall of Fame caliber that were on the white side. It's been 100 years. You know, they're not going to do it while he's alive for sure, because there's still a chance of him doing something dumb, and they really don't want that. Because remember,
but gambling is legal now.
but you know what happened? But you can't. You know what it is? He went back, and he could have been, hey man, I'm really sorry, I did this thing. First he lied, I didn't bet on baseball. Then he said I didn't bet on the Reds. He did bet on the Reds. Then it was like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to Vegas and signing autographs. And it's like, this guy doesn't give a damn. Okay. So he put himself in a position where he made himself very unlikable. Now he's like the great old man. He's talking to A-Rod and blah, blah, blah. I like Pete Rose. I wish he was in the Hall of Fame. More than any other player that's not in the Hall of Fame, I wish he was in the Hall of Fame. Because I think he'd be a great plaque to go visit. Because Pete Rose, the Hit King, is definitely, not that he doesn't have displays in the museum. He just doesn't have that plaque. That plaque is
the most important part, though.
The plaque is the plaque. Yeah, man. We walked into the room before.
Yeah.
There's no feeling like it. The only other feeling like that was when I walked onto the field, like as a patron into Yankee Stadium the first time, and I was like, so much green. I love you.
That was one of the more fun trips we took. We had to make sure we get back to Cooperstown, because that Dominican Day Festival in Cooperstown, New York, was crazy when we went. When
Pedro was getting inducted. They had buses coming in from Boston and New York, man. That was crazy.
Every Dominican on the East Coast was up in Cooperstown that weekend.
Oh my God, the line of people! What? That was crazy. That was so much fun.
Of all of your baseball collection, what would you feel is your favorite piece? Like, if you could only display one piece.
Excellent question.
In the Baseball Hall of Fame, which one would it be?
I have Satchel Paige is my favorite player. So Satchel Paige is unofficially the all-time winningest player, because he would play 3 games he would play a day game, an afternoon game, and a night game, right?
Okay.
So he won they say that he's won over like 800 games, 900 games, right? So he pitched until he was like 50. He pitched in the 1948 World Series when he was like 52, and he struck out the side and he closed the game. You know what I mean? I'm a huge Satchel Paige fan, right? So I have it's 5 pages, a contract with Paramount Pictures and Satchel Paige and his wife Lahoma, who was Puerto Rican, to the rights to their life story. So it's a book, and I forgot what the name of the book is, and the movie came out, and the movie was like a made-for-TV movie that came out in the 80s. I'm actually looking for the movie poster for the made-for-TV movie, but I haven't found that. But that Satchel Paige contract is ridiculous, because it has the studio head, it has Satchel Paige, it has his wife on it, and it has obviously like the Paramount Pictures movie logo on the corner. It's pretty cool.
Nice. That's a dope piece, actually. Yeah. I like that piece a lot.
The guy that sold it to me was like, I don't want to sell this. I'm like, oh, I know.
One day you're gonna leave me your entire baseball collection, Carlos.
Come on, nobody lives forever. You kidding me?
I'm gonna put it in a museum. The most important question of all, and I know you're a vegan now, but strawberry Pop-Tarts or cinnamon Pop-Tarts?
Are they vegan?
Huh?
Strawberry Pop-Tarts.
Strawberry.
No glaze on top. No extra sugar on top. Just a regular strawberry Pop-Tart. Perfect.
Without the frosting?
Too much.
I mean, at least you picked strawberry.
Yeah, come on, of course. Cinnamon. Oh, what's wrong with you? So it's like cinnamon apple, like apple in the middle and cinnamon? I've been out of the Pop-Tart game just to
That's why I prefaced it with, I know you're a vegan now. It's been a while since you've had a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you still remember the deliciousness of the strawberry, and that is all that matters.
Yeah, the strawberry Pop-Tarts were the best. Yeah. I didn't stray far away from that.
Last question. Money is no object. you have an opportunity to do whatever you want. You can have anything, you can go anywhere. This is your opportunity. Do you keep it for yourself or give it to someone else?
I already feel like I have unlimited money right now, and I'm broke as hell. So money's never been an issue. But if you have the opportunity, I'm a socialist. I don't know. We haven't got into the political stuff. I'm working within PETM, the African People's Socialist Party, and all of that. So I'm a socialist to the heart, and I don't really believe in amassing that type of wealth. So if I had that type of wealth, I would definitely give it away, and try to help people come back, because I believe in reincarnation. So you come back to a better environment the next time you come back. Life's a little better. You make better choices. You know what I mean? I think people are more inclined to make the right choice in life if given opportunity, right? So if you're the type of person that with your wealth you can create opportunity, you don't have to make decisions for people, but you give them opportunity. I think people end up making better decisions, and when they die, they come back, and they come back to a better environment, until we can figure this out.
Word.
Did I answer your question? Give it away.
Yeah. You did.
What's the saying? What is it? The tide raises all ships, but it has to be all ships equally. You know what I mean?
Very true. Very true. Thank you for coming on today and chopping it up.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to plug your social media networks and where people can find you if they want to take a class and learn how to whoop some ass.
Oh, absolutely. You guys can find me on YouTube, on our YouTube official Tombokai channel. So Tombokai official. We put on YouTube, we put on videos every 4 weeks, every other in the middle of the month. Try to, give people different perspectives on self-defense and training. I really haven't gotten into aspects of food and eating, because one of my students is a really good cook. And I really want her to share some of her information on, how she cooks, and, because she's not a vegan, but she can make really good vegan food. So that's one thing we're trying to do as well. So with students, not just teach them how to whoop ass, and that's very, very, very a part of it, but how to live, because the whole point is to live without fear, so you can truly live. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about walking down the street. You can just walk down the street. It's okay. And if something happens, you'll be prepared. And if something doesn't happen, you'll be prepared for that too. You know what I mean? Because you're in your center place. You're in a good spot in life. You know what I mean? So the YouTube channel helps. The tombokai.com as well. So definitely reach out anytime. Be more than happy to converse and go back and forth with anybody about anything.
Word. And we definitely got to get back to it. I know I've been being a lazy. I've been one of those students that hasn't been coming to class.
Whenever you're ready, man.
But we definitely going to get back after it. Carlos, thank you again for coming on, man. Guys, make sure you check him out on all his socials. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And this has been Inside the Mind of. I'm your host, DJ Caveman. This is Inside the Mind of Carlos De La Cruz.
A pleasure, D.
Check you out next time.